I have zero regrets about sending that back to where it belonged, which was on the library shelves. I mean, it's a great place to be. It's not like I sent it to hell, but I don't think it was a good book. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming a reaction slash follow-up to a video I did back in October. Now this video was an Overambitious Library Haul. If you haven't watched it yet, I will link it both down below and up above. That day I came home with 11 books from the library. This was not planned, this was me just kind of going wild. The majority of the video was just like any other haul. I held up the books, I showed you what they looked like, I talked about what I thought they would be about, how excited I was about reading them, but at the end of the video I went through and predicted what my rating would be for each book, which that in and of itself was already kind of a spur of the moment thing, like I hadn't been planning on doing that. And then I went a step further and decided to make it into a game, and I said that if I got a certain amount of the predictions correct, I could buy myself a book. I'm a college student that doesn't have very much money, but I'm also doing okay, like I have money saved up, so it's not the end of the world for me to buy a book. However, I'm one of those people that's very anxious about money and feels a lot of guilt about spending money. So I'm allowing myself to spend like, you know, $6-7 and buy a book because it's not that much money and I'll be okay. If you're confused by the low cost of the alleged book I'm gonna get, I pretty much only ever get paperbacks, so they do tend to be cheaper. I will get 5 points for every correct guess I get. So if I said that a book was gonna be 3 stars and it was 3 stars, 5 points on the board for me. I will lose 5 points if I DNF'd the book. I already know there are a couple of DNFs in the mix. Now, if I predicted that a book was going to be 3 stars and I gave it 2 stars, that'll be -1 point. But if the opposite happens and I ended up rating it higher than I anticipated, I can give myself a point. I'll basically just do that for whatever the difference was. Like, if I gave a book 5 stars, thought I was only gonna give it 2, that's 3 whole points. The one thing that I haven't been able to figure out was what constitutes a win. I think 10 points seems reasonable, but I honestly don't know if I got 10 points. So this is gonna be kind of a stressful video for me because at the end of the day, I do deserve to buy myself a book. I've talked myself into it now, but I'm only gonna do it if I win. So there's a lot riding on this. Does the privileged girl that has a wonderful library system and already several unread books on her TBR get to buy another book? The stakes. Now, before I get into the actual reaction and the tallying of the points, there was one book that is no longer with us. Let me explain. As I said, I got 11 books total. One of those books happened to be Wildcard by Marie Lu, which was the sequel to Warcross, which I read in September and surprisingly enjoyed quite a bit. However, right after filming and posting the Overambitious Library Haul video, the whole Marie Lu NFT thing began. And while I still have a very limited concept of what an NFT is, I have gathered that they're bad. And being a very anxious person, I really struggle with reading books where the author is currently under a bit of fire, if I, know about that fire. Whether or not I agree with the criticisms that are being had towards the author, it just stresses me out to read a book by them while other people are having conversations about how mad they are about the author. It just stresses me out, and I was never going to penalize myself for not reading a book due to like mental health reasons. So without even picking Wildcard up, I just turned it back into the library. I'm not interested enough in the series to read through some of my anxieties, so we're just gonna pretend like she doesn't exist. Verge. I am going to expect this to be a 3-star rating. That's kind of a safe bet just because it's short stories. I don't tend to rate short story collections 5 stars. I have given one 4 in the past, and who knows, this one could surprise me, but I'm thinking it's probably gonna be a 3. Yeah, so we're not off to a great start. Verge by Lydia Yuknavitch was a short story collection that had been on my TBR for a while. I hadn't realized that I actually did know the author Lydia Yuknavitch. Not that I had read anything from her, that's not accurate. But Books and Lala read the Book of Joan and absolutely hated it. And based on everything she was saying about that book, I trusted her. And had I known that it was the same author, I wouldn't have been so alarmed by how bad the short stories were. Okay, bad is maybe the wrong word. I don't necessarily know that they were like objectively bad, but just the amount of like shock value in terms of both like sexual content, violence, assault, just straight up weirdness, like it was not for me. And I have never felt more justified in a DNF before. Like, I think I read like 4 or 5 of the short stories. Didn't really like any of them. There was one that was like okay, and I could kind of see where they were going with it, but for the most part, I was like, all right, don't really see the point of that other than to shock us. Don't really see the point of that other than to shock us. I went and I looked through the reviews. A lot of people felt similarly to me and just saying like this was basically just, this was all shock value yuck. It wasn't anything of substance. I also was informed of some content for some later stories and I was like, yikes. Yeah, not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole. So even though we do have to start the tally with a -5, I have never felt better about a DNF in my life. I'll be completely honest. I have 0 regrets about sending that back to where it belonged, which was on the library shelves. I mean, that's a great place to be. It's not like I sent it to hell, but I don't think it was a good book. The Pox Party, I don't want to like set anything up for failure, but I'm gonna guess
set it up for failure.
If I do finish this, it's gonna be a 2-star. Yeah, I had been fully aware that this one was gonna be DNF material, and I did DNF it. I promised I read some of these books. We're just not coming across any of them just yet. The Pox Party was following this like society of philosophers, and it wasn't my vibe. I am one of those people that actually hates philosophical discussions. I just cannot stand them. I'm currently in like a soft philosophy class. It's technically supposed to be literary theory, but it's mostly philosophy, and I hate it with every fiber of my being. And like the Pox Party, or I think it was actually called The Astonishing Life of Octavian Nothing, Traitor to the Nation, Volume 1. The writing was kind of pretentious, and like that, it made sense for the character and what was happening, but I was just like, I don't think I could read 300 pages of this. So I DNF'd it quite early on. I think I gave it about 20 pages and was like, you know what? I gave it a shot. It's not for me. We're currently at -10, but I have a feeling that we can climb out of this hole. A Keeper. I'm probably gonna give this 4 stars. That's a pretty safe bet. I've heard really good things about it, but I doubt it'll be a 5-star just because 5-star books for me are few and far between. Yeah, A Keeper was an absolute experience. I finished a book yesterday that was a similar experience where so much of the experience was me just being like, we published this? Interesting decisions on the part of the whole publishing world. And in my reading journal, when I went to review that particular book, I said that book and then A Keeper, I think, were competing this month to see how many brain cells they could take from me. A Keeper was really, really bad, and I feel kind of conned by both the high rating it has and the amount of people that I've seen praise that book. I know that it is a celebrity that wrote that book, so like I'm aware that people do kind of go a little bit easy on celebrities. I don't think we should. They already have money. What are we protecting them from? Like, I can hurt their pride. They've got plenty of it. And I'm gonna say that book was giving trash heap Lifetime movie, like the worst of the worst. I gave the book 2 stars. I had predicted 4, so we are now at -12. You will hear so much about A Keeper in my upcoming wrap up because I have so much to say. So if you are offended because you liked this book, or if you weren't interested in this book and would like to hear it roasted, come on down. I'll probably post that in like the first week of March. The Girl in the Well is me. Based on the Mandy Candy Sandy situation, honestly probably a DNF, but you know, maybe not. Okay, they said it was gonna be dark, so let's have a little faith. I'm gonna say 2 stars. Now, the Mandy Candy Sandy situation is referring to the names of 3 of the characters in this book. The back cover of that book, The Girl in the Well is Me, had a little excerpt, and you could see that 3 of the characters were named Mandy, Candy, and Sandy, and that made me vomit in my mouth just a tad. However, we have our first positive moment, even though it's not going to help my point system that much. I actually gave this book 3 stars, and there were a lot of really positive things about it. I really enjoyed the writing. I really liked the characterization. It got a little bit too weird for me at times, which is why I didn't give it a higher rating, but I came away from that book feeling pretty good about the reading experience. I liked the writing in it so much that I ended up picking up a second book from that author. I kind of hated that one, but it's okay. That's not part of the video. So my score is now standing at -11. We're crawling our way back. I really, really want to like this one, but just something is telling me it's going to disappoint me, so I'm gonna say 3 stars on this one. No! Same vibe with this one, another 3 stars. We were no! Oh my gosh, no! Oh no! Oh, this is awful. Okay, so we went through 2 rather quickly, and I am now fully confident that I am not going to get to read this book because my memory failed me. Madman's Daughter I predicted I would give 3 stars to. I actually gave that one 4 stars and was pleasantly surprised. It was a wild ride and a good time. Like, objectively, were there issues? Absolutely, but I had so much fun reading. I actually picked up the sequel, didn't love it as much, but still, even though I'm not gonna read the last one, think that overall it's a solid series. So that brings our total to -10, but the reason why I don't think we are going to make it to +10, oh my goodness, yeah, there's no way, is because Graveminder, what came next, I 100% thought that I had predicted 2 stars for that one, and I gave it 2 stars. Apparently I put a lot of faith in that one and said I'd give it 3 stars. No. That book was not great. It was kind of the definition of good concept, poor execution. There was pretty much nothing about the execution that I thought was done right. But I did like the fact that there were kind of vampiric corpses running around. I thought that was cool. But that actually hurts us and brings it back down to -11. Part of me wants to, like, rig the game and say that I just need 5 positive points to win. Should I do that? How far are we into this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're 6. I'm rigging the game. I'm changing it. I'm gonna say I only need 5. Yeah, I'm cheating, but I want there to be some intrigue here. I want there to be, like, a chance of me getting it so you can get your hopes up, because I know you care so much about me buying another book. I care about me buying another book. We Were Never Here. Interesting. I'm, like, excited about the concept, but just knowing what, like, the typical ratings that Andrea Bartz gets, I feel like I have to kind of be a little on the cynical side. Yeah, you know cynical. What? No. I'm not going to be cynical. I'm going to say this is going to be don't say 4. It'll probably be a 3-star read. Yes, I feel bad that I'm not willing to, like, commit to any good rating. I'm just, like, setting myself up for a terrible couple months of reading. It's okay, be cynical. That was so close. I did, in fact, give We Were Never Here 3 stars, so we get 5 whole points. The first of its kind. So now we are only at, okay, oh, math. Now we're only at -6. We Were Never Here just kind of fatigued me because I had already read 2 other books in the same year that did feel very similar to it. And I think part of it was the fact that, like, I read this one last, but I just felt like it was kind of uninspired. I wasn't really vibing with it. It was an okay book. It was fine. I'm so glad that I didn't predict 4 stars for it, because then I would have lost a point instead of gaining 5. Mathematically, we have the ability to be okay, but it's not looking good. Or wait, do we? I think we would. I think the best we can get is 4. Gosh dang it. Anyway, let's soldier on. But this one I think is going to be a 4-star. I think it has like a 3.75, which, like, is fine. It's whatever for a thriller. It's kind of middle of the road, not good, not bad. But I don't know. Something about this. I feel like it's quick, it's short. I tend to like that in thrillers, so I'm thinking it's going to be a 4. Yeah, no. Misplaced trust on that one. The Good Son was a 2-star read for me, which brings us to a score of -8. We will not be buying a book this month. This was a thriller about a man who wakes up in a pool of his mother's blood and has to kind of figure out what happened. And everybody that spoke about this book favorably in the reviews were saying things like, it's not a whodunit, it's a whydunit. And, like, I'm willing to get behind that concept, except that the why in this book was really, really stupid. It honestly felt like it could have passed as a short story and would have been way better, in my professional opinion as a professional book reviewer. That one ended up being pretty disappointing. I'm now wondering why I thought I had any chance of winning, because I like fully thought that it was within my capabilities to get close to 10 points, and we're sitting at -8. It's gonna be a 4. Probably a controversial opinion to put faith in like a YA thriller, because once again, it's a little bit of a dicey territory, but I'm gonna say to your heart that I'm gonna give this a 4. I'm gonna say that. I think that the mixed media feel is really gonna catapult it into my good graces. No. Yeah, absolutely not. All Eyes on Her was pretty much everything that I hate about young adult thrillers, which is kind of the whole idea of like, something happened at a party and like this person was sleeping with this person and somebody found drugs in his locker, like just stupid stuff that is happening while there's like a dead body cooling off in the other room. I gave All Eyes on Her 2 stars, and I later read a book with a relatively similar premise and DNF'd it because I couldn't handle the disappointment of another young adult thriller. Meaning we are back to -10, which is great. And this one I am expecting to give a solid 3 stars to. Okay, we end on a positive note, even though it's not nearly enough to save us. The Twisted Ones, the one that I just held up, I don't know if you could see it super well. The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher, I did give 3 stars to. It was the type of book where I had an equal amount of positive and negative things to say about it by the time I finished with it. So I feel very justified in that rating. So we do end on a -5, which, considering that at the beginning of the video I thought that I could potentially get 10 whole points, is pretty bad. But when you actually think about it, I only DNF'd 2 of these books, unless I'm missing one. No, I only DNF'd 2 of these books, not including Wildcard. I had a stack of 10 books, read 8 of them, and honestly, a lot of the reasons why this ended up failing is because I ended up liking the book more than I thought I would. You obviously can't see it, and thank goodness, because it's messy, but on the floor around me is the results of a second Overambitious Library Haul, in which I once again went and got 11 books, not with any intention of getting 11 books. Again, it just happened. And I did go ahead and just film that video right when I got home from that library haul. So I will be doing this series at least one more time. I think it's kind of fun to look at how I predict I'll rate books and then how I actually end up rating books. If you wanted to know what these books were about or just more information about them in general, you can watch the entire haul where I'll give actual synopses of these books, and they are also kind of sprinkled throughout my various wrap-ups, most of which happened in like October, November. So I will link like the October, November reading wrap-ups, potentially the December one if I remember that there were any in there, but I don't think that was the case. It was mostly October and November. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon with another video.